So what do you do if you see a bunch of chord symbols in front of you and you want to know how to make a feel-good bass line out of those chords? Stick around, that's exactly what I'm going to show you. Hi, I'm John Liebman, and welcome to part one of this special two-part edition of The Essence of Groove here at ForBassPlayersOnly.com. So, suppose you see a bunch of chord progressions, maybe scrawled out on a napkin or a piece of paper or in a book or wherever. How do you know how to make a feel-good bass line out of those instead of just playing the root of the chord? You look at the name of the chord. If it's an A7, you play an A. If it's an E7, sharp 9, sharp 11, you play an E. And you can just play the roots of the chords. That's not a bad place to start, but there's a lot more. There's a lot of stuff you can play that's more interesting than that. So there are two things that I want you to remember. First of all, let's take an example here. Let's say we're playing in the key of A major. So here's our A major scale. All right, that's a familiar sound to all of our ears. That's the first thing I want you to get down. I want you to get that scale under your fingers so you know that shape on the bass. And it's the same shape for all the other major scales all the way up and down the bass. This example just happens to be in A. The second thing I want you to remember is that chords are generally built in thirds. What does that mean? Well, if we're going to start with the first note of the A major scale in our example, so that is A. Now we're going to skip over the second note, B, and we're going to jump to the third note. So we're going to kind of leapfrog over this note, and we're going to go from the A to the C sharp. That's a third. That's a major third. Now we want another third on top of that. So we're going to skip over the next note, and we're going to play the E, the fifth note of the scale. That's a minor third, that interval. So a major triad, a triad is just a three-note chord. A major triad has a major third first, and then a minor third. And you can make some kind of bass line out of just that right there. And we do the same thing on all the other notes in the scale. So let's go to the second note of our A major scale, which is B. And we want to play a triad. We want to play a chord on the B note. So we'll start on the B, skip over that C sharp, because that's the next note in the scale, and we're going to play the D. And that's a minor third. And then we want to go another third on top of that. So we're going to skip the next note, which is E, and we're going to jump to the F sharp. So that is a minor triad, a B minor triad. See, we have a minor third here, and then a major third. So now our bass line is getting more interesting. Let's keep going. The third note in the scale is C sharp. So we want to play a triad starting on C sharp in the key of A. So remember the notes and the position, the shape of our A major scale. We're going to skip over the D and we're going to play the E. And then we're going to skip over the F sharp and play a G sharp here. So this is also a minor triad. Going from the C sharp to the E is a minor third. Then from the E to the G sharp is a major third. So we have so far. The next note in our scale is a D. We want to play a three-note chord built on D in the key of A major. So we're going to skip over the E and play the F sharp after we play the D. And then we're going to skip over the G sharp and play the A. So this is another major triad. Now we're all the way up to E, the fifth note of the scale. We want to play a chord in A major built on E, which is the fifth note of that scale, in case you didn't believe me. Now we're going to skip over the F sharp and play the G sharp, so the major third. And then we're going to skip over the A and play the B natural, the B. And that is our E major triad. Let's keep going, we're almost done. The next note, the sixth note of the scale, F sharp. We want to play a third. We know from our knowing the shape and where our fingers go on the scale that the next note is G sharp, so we're going to skip over that to the A. And then that's our minor third. And then we're going to skip over the B and play the C sharp. So far we've played all major and minor triads. So they all sound the same, they just are on a different tonal level. Now this one is the only one that's a little weird, and you probably won't find yourself playing this kind of chord as often. First of all, it starts on the G sharp, which is only a half step away from the A. But this is actually a diminished triad, and it's called diminished because both of the thirds in this case are minor thirds. We're going from the G sharp, we're going to skip the A and go to the B, and then we're going to go from the B, skip the C sharp, and go to the D. That's our diminished triad. So to review, A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, that's our G sharp diminished, and then we're right back to A. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to fool around with that. I'm only playing one kind of groove for an example. Etc. I mean, you can pretty much count on there being, if it's in the key of A, there's going to be an A, and then there will very likely be some kind of D chord and some kind of E chord. Just one other fingering thing I want to show you. In our major triads, I've been playing starting with my middle finger, my second finger on the root, and playing it this way. This, starting on E, starting on my pinky, is the exact same sound, exact same kind of triad, but I'm playing it across three strings like this. I could play it like this, exact same notes. The only thing that's different is here I'm playing the B up here on the 9th fret, and here I'm playing it on the 4th fret. And the reason for that is because why should we shift if we don't have to? But the point I'm making is there are two ways that you can play a major triad, or a minor triad for that matter. You can play them across two strings, or you can play them across three strings. So again, keep in mind the shape of your major scale, and then keep in mind that chords are built in thirds. So when you play that scale, you leapfrog over the next note in the scale to play the note after that. And that is how we get our three-note triads for our chords: major, minor, and you've got a diminished one in there too. And it's not only for the key of A, that'll work anywhere and everywhere all over the bass. Now next week, I'm going to give you another lesson on this same topic, but we're going to go a little bit farther. We're going to expand the chord to include sevenths, and those can get a little bit tricky. We might even break a rule or two, but I want to get you used to playing the kind of stuff that you're going to play out in the real world. But in the meantime, you've got some stuff to work on. You've got some stuff to practice. You know what notes to play, and you can make them feel good. See what you can come up with. Try it. And as always, I love the comments that I'm getting on these videos. Keep those coming. Let me know what you think. Let me know your experience. And I will see you back here next week for part 2. In the meantime, keep in mind also that I've got all kinds of tips and advice for learning bass. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I will see you back here next week, same time, same place, for part 2 of this special edition of The Essence of Groove. I'm John Liebman. Let's play bass.